Today I will be ranking every single assault rifle in Fortnite. Just a couple things to note, I'm not going to put the EvoChrome rifle anywhere because I've barely ever used it and I was not able to use it in creative, so I couldn't really get an idea for how it felt. And also I'm going to be going off of what the weapon is currently like, so the AR is just going to be the SCAR. Anyways, let's get right into it. So at number 38, at last place, is the makeshift rifle. The reason why I placed it at last is because it's got no first shot accuracy, it's very slow firing, and it's also got similar power to the primal rifle. And the primal rifle is lower damage, higher fire rate, so it's not good to have low damage, low fire rate. So that's why I'm gonna put it at last place, but it's not even close to being the worst weapon in the game, so rifles overall are pretty solid. Coming in at number 37, we got the scoped AR. Now, it does do a lot of damage, but it's very slow firing, has pretty low mag size, and it has poor hipfire accuracy. Most guns I like to have good hipfire accuracy because a lot of fights are close ranged, and also you can't really take down builds with this because it fires so slow. It is highly rewarding for accuracy, but people can easily just outbuild you. Now coming at number 36 and number 35, we kind of cheated here. We got the thermal AR and the mythic thermal AR. I believe it's called the Huntsman Saber's thermal AR. Again, it's another scoped weapon, but it's got thermal sights, so it's slightly better. It's also faster firing, but it has lower damage than the scoped AR. But I prefer the speed because you can chain shots together more effectively. But it's also got pretty poor hipfire accuracy, not as bad as the scoped AR. But I'm still putting it all the way down here just because it's slower and you're not going to be able to shoot through anything with it really. Now coming in at number 34, we have the suppressed SCAR. I remember when this thing was about to drop, I was really excited because it looks similar to Nocturno, and we had never had a suppressed AR before. It actually ended up being weaker than the SCAR. It had poor hipfire accuracy as well, and the ADS bloom was really high on it for some reason. Like if you shot this thing for too long without shooting in bursts, then the bloom would just go crazy. Now coming at number 33, we got the FAMAS Burst AR. Now I am going to mention the AUG later, even though they are technically the same weapon, but just because they feel so different, I decided to cover them both. The Burst FAMAS has decent damage and decent hipfire accuracy, but it's slow and weak against builds, so that's why I'm putting it at number 33. You can't really go through builds effectively with it, and because it's got some bloom, it's harder to chain together the burst shot. Coming in at number 32, we got the TAC AR. The TAC AR is better than it used to be because they made it a red dot weapon, which makes it 100% accurate when aiming down the sights. It's got good hipfire accuracy, but it's very weak. It feels a lot more like an SMG than an AR. It's kind of like a hybrid between the two. Really weird weapon, so yeah, it's better to be used as an SMG. Coming in at number 31, we got the primal rifle, which I mentioned earlier at the very start. It doesn't have any first shot accuracy, but despite that, it has decent accuracy at medium range. It has pretty moderate damage and good fire rate. Now, the no first shot accuracy does make it hard to aim at longer ranges, but at close to medium range, that's not as much of a problem. The bloom actually helps you hit your target a little bit more easily at close range, because it's more likely to hit them. Now, coming in at number 30 and 29, we got the Pulse Rifle and Sloan's Pulse. The Pulse Rifle does do pretty decent amount of damage, and it's very accurate, but it's pretty slow. Honestly, I don't remember even picking this thing up really. I probably used whatever other AR was in the game at the time, so yeah, I never really enjoyed using the Pulse Rifle that much. Next up, number 28, we got the Sideways AR. I never really used the Sideways weapons when they were out. Now, this thing can overheat, but it has infinite ammo, it gains higher damage during the overheat, and has good accuracy. But to be honest, it feels like a weaker version of the infantry rifle, and the damage is going to be inconsistent because you have to rely on it to overheat to get that damage boost. So that's why I don't really like that. Number 27, we got the Burst Pulse Rifle. It's slightly better than the normal Pulse. The fact that it's burst makes you be able to connect more shots together because it's not going to be as slow between each shot. And the burst is actually very accurate, so you can easily chain together the two shots that it shoots out per burst. But yeah, overall, it's still not as good as a lot of the other ARs. Coming in at number 26, we're pretty much in the middle now. We got the Havoc Suppressed AR, and then at number 25, we got the High Card, which is the mythic variant of it. The Havoc is overall pretty solid. It does moderate damage, it's got pretty good fire rate, it's suppressed, got good accuracy, but it doesn't really excel at anything. It can easily be outclassed by something like the Twin Mag, which has even better accuracy. But overall it's solid and there's nothing really wrong with it. Coming out at number 24, we got the Hammer AR, which is better than the Havoc. It still retains the high accuracy, it has decent damage, but the DPS is higher than the Havoc, and that's because of its high fire rate. So that's why I would have to take it over the Havoc. It's got good accuracy, it's slower firing, and it does good damage, but it's not as strong as the Heavy AR. It's basically a weaker variant of the Heavy AR. It looks cool and it feels cool, but it's not as good. Coming in at number 22, we got the Scar, the Classic. It's very solid all around. It has good accuracy at range, it's good for hip firing, got good fire rate and solid damage, and it can take down structures pretty easily. So yeah, the Scar can do pretty much everything pretty decently, and it's been in the game for a really long time. It's not in the game anymore, but of course it's an old favorite. Number 21, we got the Sideways Minigun. Now, it's not as good as the normal minigun, definitely not. The fire rate increases during its overheating phase, and that makes the fire rate inconsistent because you have to rely on it to overheat to get that higher DPS, but that DPS can get really high when it's at its maximum. So overall pretty good, but not the best. Next up at number 20, we got the Red Eye Assault Rifle. The Red Eye Assault Rifle I actually enjoy using a lot. It's got a red dot, obviously, making it 100% accurate. It's making it 100% accurate. It's slower firing, but you're rewarded with better damage because of the slow firing. And that red dot just really helps a lot, and it's so easy to chain shots together and really satisfying to use. Coming at number 19, we got the Heisted Explosive, which is right next to the Red Eye. It's the exotic variant of it. It's even slower than the normal Red Eye, but it's still accurate. It is a projectile, so it's going to take time for the projectile to get there, but it deals splash damage, so you don't even have to get a direct hit to deal any damage, and it's still going to hit the enemies. So yeah, overall pretty good, and the splash damage deals pretty good amount of damage. Next up at 18, LMG. Now the LMG is considered to be an AR because LMGs don't have their own category in this game. It's only, the one bad thing about it is that it's got a really slow reload, of course, it's an LMG, but the mag capacity is super high, that fire rate is really high, and it's got a good DPS, good damage, but it's got high recoil, so it's better at medium to close range, and it's actually very good at close range. I enjoy hip firing with it. Next up at number 17, one of my personal favorites, the Heavy AR. It's got pretty high accuracy at range. Obviously it's going to have some bloom, but it has first shot accuracy. It's decent at hip firing despite its slower fire rate, and the high damage is there, of course, because it is a Heavy AR. Of course it's got to have more damage. I personally really like this AR. It used to be even crazier when the headshot multipliers were like 2 times damage, but now it's 1.5 times damage, so it's not as strong as it used to be. Number 16, we got Ocean's Burst, which is the older version of the AUG. It is 2-round auto burst, but is highly accurate, and it's got good damage, pretty decent hipfire. And the thing is, you don't get that much bloom when you're ADSing and you're trying to hit the burst, so you can easily connect 2 shots together at a time. It's just so easy to use, so easy to control the recoil. There's basically no recoil. Coming up at number 15, we got the Flapjack Rifle. The Flapjack Rifle was really good. It was solid all around, but it didn't stay in the game for too long. Its one bad thing is that it's got a slow reload, but it has a high mag capacity, it did moderate damage, and it's good accuracy at pretty much any range. At close range, you can take down builds, you can hip fire really good. Medium, long range, doesn't matter. It's got first shot accuracy, and even the bloom doesn't even make it inaccurate. It actually kind of helps it a little bit. So yeah, I really enjoyed using the Flapjack Rifle. Coming up at number 14, we got the Sky Scar. Yeah, the Scar moved all the way up here. But we got the Mythic variant of it. This is probably one of the first Mythics that ever came out. It might be the first one to ever come out. It's a Scar with higher DPS because the fire rate was increased, and it was just deadly at medium to close range. I remember when this thing first dropped, it was absolutely ridiculous. People were just getting absolutely sawn apart, and it's still pretty solid. Coming up at number 13, the Combat AR. Now you're probably not going to agree with me on a lot of things here, but ranking all of these from worst to best is pretty tough. But anyways, Combat AR, it has a lot of recoil, yes, but very fast fire rate, which makes that DPS absolutely insane, and it still did pretty good amount of damage. So if you could track people well and you could control the recoil, it was highly rewarding, and it took down builds fast, so it kind of functioned as a SMG at close range too. Next up at number 12, MK Alpha, one of the newer weapons and a variant of the MK weapons. It has a slower fire rate than the MK7, but it's still got pretty good damage, and it's got a red dot, which makes it 100% accurate. You can hit somebody from all the way across a POI. That's why I love most red dot weapons. And this one is certainly not a bad one. It's pretty good, actually. Coming up at number 11, speaking of red dot weapons, we got the Twin Mag AR. The Twin Mag AR is still in the game right now. It's slower firing than some other ARs, but still pretty quick. It does good damage, and it's got the red dot, as I said earlier. And also, that reload on the mag switch makes it an instant reload. Once you reload the second time, it's a normal reload time, but the first reload is literally instant. So it makes it really quick, and you can just continue to shoot. Number 10, we got the Striker Burst AR. At first, I completely forgot about this gun, but I remember how good it actually was. It was the AUG, but it had a red dot sight on it, which made it extremely accurate, of course, but had good damage and very controllable recoil. It was just so easy to chain shots together and very satisfying to use. Number 9, MK7. Obviously, a red dot weapon. I'm pretty sure is the first red dot weapon ever released, but it does moderate damage and has fast fire rate. It's not very good at hip firing anymore. It used to be a lot better, but it got nerfed. But despite that, it can still be used at close range pretty well just because of the rounds per minute. And overall, it's just really fast at killing people. At number 8, 7, and 6, we got Drum Gun, Jules Drum Gun, Midas Drum Gun. I put them all here because they're similar, and there's a few other weapons I would take over them. The Drum Gun has high mag capacity. Obviously, it's not good at long range because it's got a lot of bloom, and it functions a lot more like an SMG, and the Tommy gun is an SMG, but it's classified as an AR in this game. High mag capacity, very good damage, good fire rate, of course. It took down builds pretty easily. It applies a lot of pressure to the enemy, and overall it was very solid, really good AR SMG hybrid weapon. It was really weird, but I guess they classify it as an AR because it uses medium bullets. Number 5, we got the infantry rifle. Now, I don't know if you're going to agree with me here, but the infantry rifle is just one of my all-time favorites. Obviously, it's not good for destroying builds because it's semi-auto, but the high accuracy was very rewarding. It had low recoil. It had one of the most satisfying recoil patterns ever. It was just so easy to control, and it hit like a truck, and it only took a few shots to kill someone who was at 200 HP, so overall, I just love the infantry rifle. Now at number 4, we got the Foundation's MK7 AR, which is in the game right now. I was witnessing it when I was streaming it right now. I haven't used it much, but the times I did use it, I really enjoyed it because it has higher DPS than its normal version, which means it's super quick firing and strong. It can take down builds really fast, and of course it can take down people very fast. The Foundation's Mark 7 is up there. Now, at number 3 and 2, we got the minigun and Brutus minigun. Now, both of these had the same amount of DPS. It had a DPS of 252, which is probably one of the highest of all time. Might be the highest of all time. It destroys builds like instantly. It's highly accurate. It's only got a slight spin up time, and it overheats. The Brutus minigun is right next to it because the only statistical difference between the minigun and the Brutus minigun was that the the mythic version actually had a slightly faster cooldown rate. Now, make sure you like and subscribe because ranking all of these was not super easy, especially because most of the ARs are really solid in this game. Coming in at number 1, we got the overclocked pulse rifle. Do you remember this weapon? I surely do. It wasn't in the game for super long, but it used to be at the floating island. The overclocked pulse does have lower DPS than the minigun at 237.5, but it just absolutely decimated builds when you were hip firing, and that was actually after its nerf. It still had 237 DPS. Imagine before the nerf. And also, not to mention the ADS damage. The ADS damage was 85 maximum. If you headshotted, it would hit for 85, and it was still really fast. I mean, that's absolutely insane. I don't know why you would not want that. I've only gotten a couple times because you have to go to the floating island to get it. But Overclocked Pulse was like one of the most OP ARs I've ever seen in the history of the game. So that's why I put it at number 1 of all time. Do you agree with me on this list? And also, where would you put the EvoChrome? Because I have no idea. If you don't agree with me, or you think you should make some rearrangements, let me know in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will do this for the other weapon categories as well. And I'll see you next time.